Why did the United States bomb Iran's most valuable oil island and then refuse to touch the oil? 90 targets, missile bunkers, air defenses, naval facilities, all destroyed. But the terminals, the pipelines, the supertanker ports, not one scratch. That is not an accident. That is a message. And once you understand what that message really means, you will never look at this war the same way again. The headlines screamed about oil. The pundits talked about crude exports and energy markets. But they were all missing the real story. This was never about oil barrels. Any strategic move against Kharg Island is not a simple oil blockade. It is an economic decapitation strike aimed directly at the real power inside Iran. Not the president. Not the supreme leader. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC. This is the story that gets lost in the noise. And to understand it, you have to look beyond the obvious. Most people know the IRGC as an elite military force, Iran's most powerful and feared institution. That is true, but it is only half the picture. The IRGC is not just a military. It is a military, an intelligence agency, and a massive business empire, all inside one organization. After the Iran-Iraq War ended in 1988, the IRGC was handed control of rebuilding the country, and they never stopped expanding. Today, estimates place IRGC control at roughly 1/3 of Iran's entire economy. They operate in construction, banking, telecommunications, and energy. They run companies through networks of front businesses specifically designed to bypass international sanctions. The economists call it a resistance economy, a financial system built to survive no matter what the outside world does. And most critically, the IRGC has deeply embedded itself inside Iran's oil industry. That oil revenue is what funds everything. The proxy militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the ballistic missile program, the internal security apparatus that keeps the regime in power. To truly destroy IRGC power, you do not just bomb their bases, you go after their wallet. And that is exactly where Kharg Island enters the picture. Kharg Island is the beating heart of Iran's economy. It is not just a piece of land. It is a strategic choke point with no equal. 90% of all Iranian crude oil exports flow through its terminals, or its deepwater ports are uniquely capable of loading supertankers, the giant vessels that carry Iranian oil across the world, primarily to China. Iranian oil alone accounts for 11.6% of China's total seaborne oil imports. This concentration makes Kharg Island Iran's greatest economic asset, and simultaneously, its greatest vulnerability. Any sustained disruption to this island severs the primary cash flow to the Iranian government, and directly to the IRGC. Now, here is what makes the United States strategy so calculated. On March 13th, the United States struck 90 military targets on the island: missile bunkers, naval mine storage, air defense systems, the airport, and deliberately left the oil infrastructure standing. Trump said it himself. He spared the oil for reasons of decency, but immediately threatened to reconsider if Iran did not reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The message to Tehran was not, "We are stopping your oil." The message was, "We are one decision away from stopping your oil. Now talk." The oil is not the target. The oil is the leverage. But the calculation here is loaded with danger, and Washington knows it. Kharg Island sits 20 miles from the Iranian mainland. That proximity leaves any occupying force dangerously exposed. Missiles, drones, and artillery can reach the island within minutes. Retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery stated it plainly. If we seize Kharg Island, they are going to turn off the spigot on the other end. It is not like we control their oil production. Iran still controls the pumps on the mainland. And seizing the export terminal does not seize the oil fields. On top of that, any physical seizure risks catastrophic escalation. Iran has already warned that an invasion of its islands would, their exact words, shatter all restraint. If Iran retaliates by striking energy facilities across Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait, or moves to fully close the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil supply passes, the global energy crisis does not ease. It explodes. Oil prices above $150 per barrel, supply shocks across Europe and Asia, a regional war that pulls in multiple countries simultaneously. The island is easy to take. It is almost impossible to hold. And Iran knows it. So this tiny island is not just another flashpoint in a fight over oil, and it represents a different kind of modern warfare, a direct assault on an enemy's economic center of gravity. The IRGC is not just a military force, it is a sprawling financial empire. And its greatest weakness is not on the battlefield, it is on the balance sheet. The real question is this: would a targeted economic strike actually cripple a force like the IRGC? Or would it simply light the fuse on a wider, more devastating regional war that nobody can control? That answer is still being written, and that is the harsh truth. The strategy behind this war goes far deeper than what you are seeing on the news. Every video on this channel gives you the layer underneath the headlines, the part that actually matters. If that is the kind of analysis you want, subscribe now. Because the next breakdown is something the mainstream media will not touch.